Open the podcast bay doors, Hal.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 61 of Welcome to Geektown. I'm your host, Kurt Onstead. I've been a proud geek all my life, being into role-playing games, board games, sci-fi, fantasy, and especially superheroes and comics. And I want to help others join me in those pursuits. But I've found that sometimes people can get overwhelmed or feel left out because they don't already have what some consider the requisite knowledge to be considered a fan. And that's where Welcome to Geektown comes in. Here you can ask your questions without feeling like a gatekeeper is calling you out for not yet being fully versed in every aspect of your new interest. Let's start out by shouting out my patrons. I had a burst of activity in the last month, and so have almost double the number of people to thank. So, in alphabetical order, by last name, I'd like to express my gratitude to Aaron Borst, Julio Herrera, Carla Hoffman, Lyndon Onstead, Forrest Woodward, and Utuk Zul. You help keep me going with your financial support, which assists in paying for the costs associated with the podcast, and I truly do appreciate it. If anyone else wants to join in, it's just $1 per month, and in addition to the monthly shoutout, you also get access to bloopers and other additional audio, and full scripts of past shows. Speaking of being appreciative, I want to speak out on a serious subject right now. Privilege. There's a lot happening in the world at the moment, and much of that boils down to who has privilege and power and who doesn't. I was born to upper middle class parents, and I'm a cis, straight, white male. So while I've had struggles in my life, as everyone has, none of them were due to the circumstances of my birth. I want to fully recognize that privilege first before I continue, as I will be speaking to issues that have not affected me directly, but despite that, or maybe because of it, I feel I should discuss. I've mostly avoided these topics in the past because I aim for a light escapist feel with the show. But at the same time, one of the motivations for me putting this podcast together was for people to have a safe space to ask about any geeky subject that they want, and I hope one of the ways I can help people feel comfortable and safe here is to let my feelings on these important matters known. In the intro to the show, I talk about gatekeepers and have called out in a particular episode their bad behavior as well as other toxic fans. Unfortunately, it's not just some of the fans that are toxic. In the past few weeks, a number of creators in the comic book and gaming industries have been exposed as sexual abusers, groomers, or have otherwise taken advantage of their power and privilege in ways that should be condemned and are possibly illegal. I don't want to get into specific names and incidents because, 1, they're not my story to tell, and 2, I'm sure that what's been reported is just the tip of the iceberg. But those names are not hard to find right now if you search any comics-related news site. At least one of them is a writer whose work I have specifically called out as one of my personal favorites. Let me start by saying that I believe the women who have come forward, and I am sorry for what you and many other victims have gone through. As a podcaster with a small audience, I have very little power, but what I can do is say that this person's tags will be removed from my website so as to no longer publicize his work, and he will no longer be named in any future episodes. As a consumer, I will no longer purchase or in any way financially support his work or that of any other such people I am or become aware of. I do believe in second chances, but I will be taking my cue from the women in my life and my social media feeds as to who has made a serious apology and made proper amends before allowing these fallen heroes of mine back into my good graces. I sincerely hope that those currently in power in the industry also ostracize those who have taken advantage of their positions in shameful ways, until such time as they have paid whatever price that society, and more importantly, their victims, feel is appropriate. Moving on to the next subject. Black Lives Matter. This is important to say, as for many decades now, society has not appeared to agree with that statement with the way black men and women have been treated by their fellow human beings, especially men in authority like the police. Although it's been an issue since before the birth of this country, recent events have brought things to a tipping point, which is why so many protests have broken out all around the country demanding justice. I could spend the rest of this episode saying names of black men and women who have died needlessly at the hands of those who have wielded their power with deadly force. Just to name a recent few, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery all deserve better, and I continue to hope that their killers will be brought to justice. Bringing it back to this show, I want to do more to bring black and other minority creators and characters to light. I've specifically called out in the past names such as Christopher Priest, Mark Doc Bright, and the late Dwayne McDuffie as personal favorites of mine, and I hope to expand my knowledge to other creators of color and pass on their work to you. If there are any you are specifically aware of that you think should have an episode dedicated to them, or that you would like me to seek out for an interview, please let me know. I mentioned at the beginning of last episode my small contribution to the #Comic Writers Challenge organized by Gail Simone. I want to thank the winner of that auction for donating $250 to Black Trans Lives Matter, because trans rights are human rights, and all of the other creators, retailers, and fans who contributed in one way or another, leading to over $300,000 being raised for various Black Lives Matter organizations. My final note on this is to once again reiterate my own privilege on these matters. Whether consciously or unconsciously, I have had advantages over some others throughout my life, and I know I have not always acted in the best manner, especially when it comes to my treatment of women. There are a number of people who deserve my apologies, and I have started to reach out to those I can still contact with exactly that. I want to do better, and I hope you all can help me strive towards a goal of a more just world. Now, I've been discussing very serious topics for a little time now, and I could probably go on, but at this point, I think it's probably better for me to listen to what those more negatively affected by the system have to say. Because this episode is on the shorter side and is not the typical subject matter, I will also be releasing a little 2-minute episode that you may have missed. I wrote and narrated that episode as an entry to a contest sponsored by Rode Microphones. The winners will be announced next week, and with the competition as fierce as it is, my hopes of winning are dim, but I'm still proud of the episode, and I want to make sure everyone hears it. And in the meantime, I would love to hear more from you, my listeners. If you have any comments you'd like to make on this episode, or any questions you have that you want answered down the line, please send those via email to welcometogeektown, all spelled out, @gmail.com. Or if you prefer to remain anonymous, just go to welcome2, the number 2 in this case, geektown.com, and click the Submit a Question link and fill out the form there. Other contact options include facebook.com/welcometogeektown or Twitter @geektownpodcast. If you'd like to support the show directly, you can become a patron at patreon.com/welcometogeektown for just $1 per month. And if you want a free way to help out, don't forget to subscribe and give me a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts to join the Geektown City Council, which helps other people find the show, so we can all tell them, "Welcome to Geektown, population, us." Welcome to Geektown is written, narrated, edited, and produced by me, Kurt Onstead. Theme music is by Aaron Lovitz, logo art by Archie Santana. All other sound clips are the copyrighted material of their respective owners, and no infringement is intended, falling under fair use.